Some folks were asking about the dimensions and the specs for the box lyre that I made. Um, my original sketches are absolutely worthless to anybody but me. So anyway, these were inspired by the Saxon lyre, and I tried to create something that was a little similar to it. The truth is that all of the measurements on this are by convenience and nothing more. Ballpark estimates, and this is what I wound up with. Um, Overall length is 26 inches, 26, if you can see that. And the width is 7.5 inches. Why I came up with those measurements, I have no idea. Anyway. The size of the box really is by a matter of convenience. This is the birch ply that I was using, and it comes in 1 foot by 2 foot lengths. So I cut something that looked aesthetic. In this case, it's just about 11.5 inches. And that was to allow myself, it was a measurement that I could allow myself to cut out of this sheet and make sure I could get 2 consistent pieces. The entire thing, the frame, is made out of, essentially, you can get these at the lumber yard, and it's called a furring strip. They're called 1x2s, and what that means here in the US is that they're 1.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. And this is what I used. 1 8-foot piece will make the entire frame. And so the idea was to make them cheap, to make them easily accessible. And anyway, so I start by cutting my 26-inch sides, and then wherever I determine I want my box height to be, in this case was 11.5 inches, I measured up here and then made a dado cut that is 1/2 the width of this. So in this case, 3/8 of an inch deep by 3/4 of an inch wide. I did the same thing down here for a lap joint. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. But anyway, 3/8 inch in, and just glued the box together. I used polyurethane glue, known as Gorilla Glue here in the US, mostly because it's an expansive glue, and my joints weren't cut very well. The headstock is made from 2 pieces of the 3/4 inch laminated together. You can see the joint there, where the rounded edges of the material came together. I'm not real fond of that, but that's the way it worked out. And then I did the same thing with a half cut here. So roughly 3/4 of an inch, so that this piece would set in. This piece is set to go inside the 2 side frames. That's it for the frame. And then the top and the back cut out of the same piece of material to whatever size would fit nice and flush. And it's good to have a little bit of excess, because if you're like me, you wind up gluing the box together crooked. So if you can sand it off smooth, more's the better. Spacing on the pins, I had used a different tuning system when I made my first cigar box version, and I didn't actually like it very much. So I went ahead and bought zither pins. Lots of places you can get zither pins. They're not particularly expensive. I think I bought a pack of 50 for $20 US, something like that. Spacing on these pins is 3/4 of an inch apart on center. I started by finding my center line, drift 3/8 of an inch to one side, 3/8 of an inch to the other side, and then 3/4 of an inch from there. Gives you a spacing. 2.5 inches on the bridge, and that was, again, pure convenience. And then slightly smaller, around 2 inches for the tailpiece. The bridge and the tailpiece are both made out of maple, because that's what I had. 1/4 inch stock here. This is about a little under half, or right around 1/2 inch. It wouldn't necessarily have to be that big, but that's, again, what I had. Slightly tapered so that you can come up to a nice sharp point. I'm thinking about notching the bridge, particularly since the spread gets really intense, and I can experiment a little bit with moving the bridge, but I'm going to have to make sure that the strings don't slide off the edge. The bridge is movable. The tailpiece was glued on. I added a couple of brass screws just to give it a little extra strength. I'm not real pleased with the way this looked. I think in future I will orient the grain this way and just make a smaller tailpiece. I'll probably put a screw in it just to give it a little extra strength, but it's glued. The top, the back, the tailpiece are all glued on with standard wood glue. I made my own tuning wrench, which was a real pain in the butt, but by drilling a hole and then using a small file to square it off enough that it would fit on the pegs. Strings, I came across this fishing line, heavy gauge fishing line at a big box store, and 80 pound, 50 pound, and 20 pound line. I use 3 of the 80 for the bass, 3 of the 50 for the mid-range, and then 2 of the 20 for the higher end. Scale length as it is right now looks like about 21 3/4 of an inch. Sound hole, I sketched it out. It's off center because, well, I have a problem with symmetry, and the rest of the box is so square that I thought a little asymmetry would be a kind of a nice touch. And that's it. That's about as simple as you can make a musical instrument. It is roughly a B major scale. I tuned it up to C and it keeps drifting back. These strings are very stretchy and it takes quite a while for the knots and the strings themselves to settle in, but it's got kind of a pleasant sound. Not very loud, but it's more of a meditation and fun toy. So inexpensive, easy to build. I think all told, I've spent $15, maybe $20 on this as far as each individual instrument. So anyway, there it is. Have fun. If this doesn't fulfill your desires for specifications, let me know, and I'll try to be a little more exacting. Thanks.